the 2013 Business Synergy Conference, organized by Bill Williamson and Associates, CBIN, Web Connect, and of course, Marquette Bank. Let's put our hands together. And we want to say thank you also to one of our sponsors, the City Light Church, for providing this location for us to use free of charge. They gave us all their equipment, everything for us to use here. So let's just acknowledge City Light Church and acknowledge Pastor Lan and Pastor Debo Ejiwola for helping us with that. Wonderful. This event is actually streamed live. So we want to welcome our internet audience and those that will be watching in different nations to the 2013 Business Synergy Conference. Let's put our hands together for that. Yes, like Lisette said, we wanted to come together to be able to empower businesses, not just locally, but businesses in the Chicago area. And when we started the process of going about the conference, Dr. Ajayi, who is at the back, let's put our hands together for Dr. Ajayi. Yeah. Yeah. Came up with this vision of having a conference, a yearly conference, where aspiring business owners as well as existing business owners could come together, synergize, share ideas, share resources, network, and take their business collectively to the next level. And so the process of the synergy began. And while we were there, we said, let's find out from people, from business owners, what this event should focus on. And we conducted a survey. And in that survey, a majority of the businesses overwhelmingly said that they wanted to know how to grow their businesses and take their businesses to the next level. And so we set out and we began to plan. So this morning we have someone in the person of Chief Jimmy Boyega Delano, who will be giving us a little talk. And I want you, sir, to just feel free to just share your heart on these topics or as it relates to business. I just want to give us a little bit of his background. He has over 30 years experience in the business world. He served in various capacities as an accountant. He has both an MBA in marketing and finance as well. He has an MA degree in finance and investment from South Bank University, London. He attended Oxford University in England to study theology, where he balances a business approach with a Christian foundation as well, and he will share on that. He presently teaches graduate level business and marketing courses at universities in Chicago and Indiana in the United States of America. He has started several businesses. He's the president and CEO of Elora L Original Beauty Concepts. That's headquartered in Chicago. Started it and grew the business. This is someone with a wealth of wisdom. Serves in several boards and as president, engaged in a lot of initiative. This is a wise man. And just a plug, a father to a very, very good businessman as well. His son featured in Forbes Africa as one of the leading successful business people in Africa. So they say the apple does not fall too far from the tree. So we have him here, and he's been so gracious to come and spend this morning with us. Took the invitation on very short notice, and he came and he's here to impact his wisdom on how we can take our businesses, our initiatives, companies, organizations from where it is to the next level. And he's also going to share about other things as well. I'm not doing justice to the introduction. but I believe that he has a lot to share with us. Please help me welcome Chief Chimikboega Delano.
Good morning. I didn't hear that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Please be seated. Let me first of all say thank you so very much for the organizers of this event. I also would like to say a big thank you to Dr. Omo, who has been very instrumental as well in putting this together. This church is also my church. You may not see me regularly, but my spirit is here all the time. So I would like to say thank you as well to my pastor and my pastor's wife as well, and to everybody here present this morning. It's a privilege and wonderful opportunity for me to speak at this conference. I know that I have only half an hour to speak, but this half an hour is to speak about 30 years' work. So I took the opportunity to write some things down so that I don't miss some key points. There are those of you who want to learn of the opportunities to start your own business, even though it is challenging. After a 5-year-old recession and economic times, people are still creating jobs. People are still creating businesses. And studies show that many who lost their jobs are starting their own business so that they can always say, never again. Never again will I be unemployed. One of the greatest advantages of self-employment is that you are your own boss and you cannot be laid off. Many have read and bought so many books and softwares, packages that promises billions in free grants. They are often empty promises and stories. Throw those books away. The quick question is, where can you take your business idea and turn it into reality? How do I grow my business? The first thing in one's mind is always write it down. It may be from your bathroom, just get a piece of paper. There's this concept of the Jewish concept that the Jewish people write stuff at the back of envelopes. Always write it down. Put it in a simple business plan. It is most important document in any business development growth. It's important that we know why is our business different. Why is our business different? What are we doing that is different from other people? If you are going to say, I am going to sell apples, there are so many people already that sell apples. Are you going to sell apples in a designer method? What is it that you are doing that is different? The business concept you want to grow must be solid. The marketing, it must be an innovation. So if you have some kind of creativity, always put it down. That's one of the key things. We call something the 4 Ps. That's the product, the price, the promotion, and the placement. If the product is not any good, no matter how nice you are, you cannot sell. The wonderful thing about the United States is that in this country, anything that you make that is less than $10, if it's $9.99, people will always buy it. They may not have a repeat purchase if the product is not good. In England, because I have experience of doing business here in England and also in Africa, in England, you will nearly write a dictionary before somebody buys something which is $10. But in America here, it's much, much easier to sell something which is $9.99. You may find people then putting it at their basement, but at least you can still buy that. If it is good, it will resell. So technology Technology is the order of the day. If you do not know how to use a laptop or media survey, then you cannot grow or do any business. Not only in the United States, but all over the world. Even in developing countries now, you find that technology is quite important. In my own business, I make products and I sell into 15 countries. And I have a lot of people who actually go to our website and actually want to fly over to Chicago to do business with us or to meet with one of my managers in London. So communication, technological communications is very important. Also, background of principal founders who are behind this project. That's quite important because, and I'm going to share some examples with you of my SBA. I got an SBA loan 12 years ago. And they said, you want to start your own business? What experience have you got? And I brought out my CV that, in fact, I've had the opportunity and the humility to be in charge of the biggest hair care business in the world for 10 years. And the guy said, fine, we don't need any more experience from you. That's one of the reasons why I got the money. But also because they looked at my business plan. Any business plan that is more than 15 pages, discard it. Make it simple, make it short, make it to the point. Because people, even in SBA that I'm very close to now, they don't spend more than 20 minutes reading your plan. They look at your income statement. Is this business going to make money? They look at the idea. They look at who you are. There are times then say, okay, this guy is not fraudulent. His credit may not be good, but this guy has the potential to actually grow the business. So what is the most important thing for growing our business? It's funding. If we don't have money, even the Bible says so, if we don't have money, you are nobody. But money is not the only thing. So two things with funding that I want you to remember. Someone is looking for money. The second thing is someone else is looking for a good investment. According to the National Ventures Capitalists Association, over 740 venture capitals are in the United States. So we have people who actually can get us the money. They actually, they currently employ, through their sponsorship, over 10 million people in the United States. And sales run over the region of 2.3 trillion. So venture capitals do exist. But I want to spend some time to actually look at that. But before then, there is what we call angel investors. Angel investors, as in A-N-G-E-L, angel investors. Angel investors, currently there are about 250,000 of them in the United States. They bear, any business you want to do, they bear the high risk, but they expect high return. They bear high risk, they expect high returns. Friends and family, from your friends, your family, and we call it 3 F's. Friend, family, and the third one is slightly nasty, with a inverted comma open and close, fool. Because at times, you have to be a fool to make money. If you don't see the intricate value of what you are talking about, people who do not make money are people who wait until that stock is listed. Once it's listed, you're not taking any risk. It's been measured risk that you are taking. So I find that there are some things that I've invested in the last 3-4 years. I've been a fool. I said, oh, I can lose $3,000, I can lose $30,000. And it's actually now maturing. So at times it's nice to be a fool, but a very pleasant fool, because it's actually at times yields dividends. Then with the angel investors, they are patient. They are patient with you. They don't want returns. When I gave out my money, that $30,000, I've already written it off mentally. But then it started building up. So, however, the banks are only interested in their money and interest that you pay. So we have to start looking for angel investors. And we are going to talk very briefly today on how we can get angel investors. But let's look at how banks work. It's currently very difficult to get money from the banks because of the economic climate. Banks are mainly concerned in their investment, as I just said. But investors are interested in seeing, is there any potential in this deal? Because what I know is that we're now having a lot of young, dynamic people who are actually having the opportunity to discover something. So don't think that this guy didn't go to school, he can't do this. No, look at the potential of what he's doing and then say, well, this is an opportunity for you to invest. So one of the other things you have to decide, do I want to go with the bank? Do I want to actually take a chance with somebody? If you are therefore looking for money, you're going to say, okay, I want this money from the bank. The way you slant your business plan will be different from the way you actually get an investor. An investor may be, when I was in England, I played tennis a great deal. And 2 doors away from my house, there was this elderly guy who we always said good morning to. And when I started my first business, I said, I want to start a business now. He says, okay, what kind of business? And I said, A, B, C, D. He said, why don't we have lunch? So we went out for lunch. I said, this guy's not going to help me. I think I'm even better than himself. I was driving a big car. He was just quiet. Then I discovered that he was from the Guinness family. You do not know who your angel is. Always remember that. So it's very important. Now, let's look at the venture capitalist, for example. The venture capitalist is not interested in you. There is no emotions in venture capitalism, not whatsoever. They are interested, how can we get our money? There's a principle that we use, it's called 2-6-2 rule. The 2-6 rule is that 20% of investments will make you a lot of money. 60% of investments will make you very little money. And 20% of investments will shut down, will close. Consequently, investor capitalism, people who say 100 companies, we will take 100 companies, but we will take the risk because at the end of the day, the portfolio will make the money. That's how they make decisions because they'll say, okay, let us decide which of the risks that we'll take. Now, networking. Networking is what we're doing here today. It's crucial. Without networking, we cannot survive. And that's one thing I've discovered, that when I network, I always carry my business cards. I have like 30 business cards today. I'm not saying that I want to give them all out, but I always go out with my business card because when you do that, you are planting a seed with who you give a business card. I'll give you an example. I was at Chase Bank yesterday, and just as I was going out, this lady, purse dropped. I picked up her purse for her, and I said, oh, can I keep this? I joke all the time. For the people who know me, I said, no, you can't keep it. Well, who are you? I discovered that she was a senior vice president in a merchant bank downtown Chicago. And we talked for about 5 minutes. This was we talked for about 5 minutes yesterday, and she's coming to my office next week, Wednesday. Because actually, she is in charge of money for properties, processed properties and land. Now, is there a coincidence? No, there are no coincidences. And I'm going to come to that very briefly. I know that I have another 19 more minutes, so let me use it wisely. Now, the next one is SBA. SBA, they're good. SBA, they're good. I got my the first $150,000 from SBA 12 years ago. I sold some of my properties in London because then I was living as vice president from L'Oreal. I was moving to my own business. Now, I'm an expert in guerrilla marketing. And that's what we did with the beans just now. The beans just now, the first question I asked this young lady was, okay, which one is it that I can neutralize other people? We're always looking for the strategy to keep afloat. Always looking for a strategy to keep afloat. Honest strategy. Now, the SBA are one of the best sources of locating funds for new businesses and growing new businesses. They have what is called the macro loans, which is up to $35,000. You can check their website, you can call them, and they actually also have seminars. You can go to their seminars. It's free. You see, I was, just before this, I was talking to somebody, and I said that to work in the White House, all you need to do is to go to their website. Apply. If you don't apply, no angel is going to come to your house and say, are you looking for a job? You've got to take the first step. Now, some of you may think that there's a textbook that tells you how to lend money or to run your businesses. None. I've tried it for 30 years. It's networking, it's coming together like this, it's doing exactly what Pastor Omo is doing, getting people together, getting sponsors, and we sharing. As I sat down there, I thought of a business concept already from this meeting. I'm not telling anybody. Now, in all this, you must avoid outright fabrication of facts. It's important that you tell the truth. Yes, we businessmen, we at times can be what I call optimistic exaggeration. We entrepreneurs are very, very optimistic. If you are not optimistic, you cannot do business. We entrepreneurs, we exaggerate our market potential. We exaggerate sales projection. But you cannot say, I'm starting this business, I'm going to make $30 million. You can't do that. You will that is outright fabrication of facts. You must do a very, very simple business plan that shows, I want to sell this product. Okay, so how do I go about selling this product? I want to start small. Always remember that humble beginnings, you should not laugh at humble beginnings. Never, never, never. Because that's how big companies make it. Google, two guys, garage. They started in the garage. It's $1 billion company, it's billions of dollars today. That I can spend the whole afternoon giving you examples of those who started small. Never despise humble beginnings. Now, you must also, it's not just about the money. If I write you a check for $100,000, you still may not succeed. You must know how to spend the money. You must have this feeling of exclusivity for your investors. Oh, you are chairman, sir. You are in charge, sir. Because these guys have money. Believe me, I know lots of people who have money. I know lots of Africans and Americans who have money. But quite often you find that people who have money don't dress like this. They don't wear sharp suits. I'm not saying this is sharp. Yeah, it is actually. So they just walk around. And you may meet them in the plane. You may meet them anywhere. Just show respect. That's why it's important to always carry your business card. That's why it's important you don't know where you are meeting your angels. That's why it's important to share with people that I want to do something. You don't need to give them all the details. I want to do something. Do you know somebody who can help with this? Do you know somebody who can help with that? So it's important that we actually apply ourselves. It's important. It's not the money. As I said, I can write a check for $100,000 for each one of you here. I don't have the money, but I bet a lot of people will still not make use of the money wisely unless you go through the things we are discussing here today. What about grants? Grants are not easy, but they are possible. I say this again. Grants are not easy, but they are possible. The information needed to obtain grants are publicly available and are free. Grants can be state grant or country grant or government grant. I know at least two of my friends who are very distinguished professors at the University of Chicago. They're just getting grants right, left, and center. And then I said, okay, how are you guys doing this? So they gave me one of the contacts in Matthew. This is like 25 billion this guy has stocked away for grants. So I called the guy, and the guy said, let's meet. So we met. This is what I want to do. This is why I want to do it. How can you help me? And the guy said, no, you got to write it this other way. So I went back, right, I'm talking of 2-3 months ago. And so that is being processed now. And other thing is that, where else can I get money? Look at the minority-owned business. This is a time to enjoy being a minority. I'm minority because I'm tall and good-looking. That's my own minority. Find a way that you are a minority. That's the point I'm trying to make. Find the way that you are disadvantaged. Find the way that you're a woman. You're only a woman. Women can only do this. Find a way that you're a veteran. Veterans are getting information. I'm not talking of the local war or the war that you fought somebody. You're not a veteran. You're a veteran when you have been to war. So even if you have a friend who is a veteran, what you simply need to do is, okay, you don't have money, but I know you're a veteran. So let's partner. Because partnership is you working with somebody who does not have what you have. Now, the moment both of you have the same thing, you're not partners, you're going to fight. It's very, very simple. That's what a lot of people don't understand. So what I tend to do, and I'm going to tell you a secret today, I look for people who are rich, writers, sports people, people who inherited money, and start looking around for them. And it's not going to happen in one day. And I cut them as if you are cutting a woman. You place yourself in positions where you can meet them. You see an article about them, shoot them an email. People who are rich, their ego is twice as big as this building. Write them an email, say, I like what, let me share, I'll go deep. I wrote somebody to say, I like your suit. Where do you get your suit from? I genuinely like this suit. And this guy was in Chicago, Black American guy. And he came to my office. He came to my office, told me where he got his suits, and it's in Dallas. And I'm going into that Dallas now. I spoke to him yesterday. He says, oh, I have some money. I want to actually help people in Africa. So I have linked him up with a couple of people because what he wanted to do, that's not my sphere of business. So to be kind as well is good. Now, let me quickly summarize what I've said so far. How much do you need? You must know how much you need. There's a difference between estimate and guesstimate. An estimate is you finding out, I want to actually start a dry cleaning business. Go and research what kind of equipment. Go and research the contracts on it. These are things that you can simply do in 2-3 days. Find out how much it costs. A guesstimate is to say, oh, it's going to cost $50,000. Nobody's going to buy that from you. So when you go to that meeting, you must equip yourself with basic information. Then how much do you need money for? What kind of money do you need? Do you want a partner who's going to have shares in the company? Do you want to just borrow money from the bank? Do you want an angel who will just hold your hand? You've got to decide that from day one and find out exactly what you need. Then, do you have a collateral? Now, collateral is not just houses. I know somebody who used his grandmother's gold in London, 600,000 pounds. Those old goals were selling in Yaba. She bought them together, did a catalog, and somehow the bank valued it at $600,000. 600,000 pounds, $1.1 million. That's how she started her catering business in London. And she caters for big companies now in London. So what am I saying to you? Think of a product. Why is this product different? How can this business be viable? Now, there are so many other practical ways. Develop a relationship with a bank. As I said, I met a bank senior vice president yesterday. Don't discount it. Oh, I'm not going to need this person. Still take that and use it as a seed. Remember the concept of seeds. When you plant them, they will always become a tree. It's very, very important. I have over 3,000 business cards in my office. What I do when I travel is I get to the airport alley. I go to the VIP lounge, and I start walking around as if I'm the owner of the place. And nice to see you, madam. What do? I give my card. I get the card. In that way, you meet a lot of important people that you cannot arrange to go and see in their offices. And when you meet them on the same level as yourself at that time. So it's important that we network. Now, let me also mention something about education and training. Education and training, it's now the vogue in the United States. This government are pouring so much money into education. I'm an adjunct professor in about 3-4 universities, and most of these universities, I actually am encouraging them when they finish, do their MBA or a PhD. Because when you have a master's, you are a master. When you have a PhD, you are above the first and second degree. United States is a place where you can do 2 jobs and do a PhD. It's a beautiful country that we can do a PhD. So education and training is key. Train your staff, train your business, people who you are associated with. Business expansion. Let me just quickly mention 2 points with business expansion. Currently, look for businesses that are cash generation. I'll give you my example. I'll give an example. A couple of examples. The first is that I manufacture and sell hair care products to 15 countries. That's one of the things that I do. So right now, I am not selling to Walmart. There's nothing wrong with Walmart. Let me make that clear. Because they are not going to pay me for 45 days. And then they will tell me that if they don't sell the products, I should come and collect my stuff. So what I'm doing to generate cash, I go into Ghana, to Nigeria, to Sierra Leone, to Brazil, and sell cash and ship container loads. I can now, after 12 years, I can run my basement from the basement of this church because I have anointing too. I am serious because if you look at the simple, practical ways of generating cash, and every cash you make as an accountant, if it's $500, pay it into an account. Let the bank see you are paying something in. Then you can go in and say, can you give me a line of credit for $10,000, $15,000? They just check the history and find out. The next one is go global. 5% of the people that lives in the world are Americans. So Americans account for only 5% of the world. Chase the remaining 95%. 2, America produces 25% of goods and services of the world. We are a rich country. Here, look for something you can ship and sell to Sierra Leone. Look for something you can sell to Brazil. Look for something you can bring from Europe. I have a friend who's an MBA Harvard. He drives 4 or 5 brand new cars in Nigeria. He has a very big office in Victoria Land. And he calls himself an international consultant. Let me, because I told him this when I spoke to him this morning, I was going to use him as an example. I'm not going to mention his name. He sells safety pins and nails. Nails, you sure? Safety pin and nails. But he ships about 25 containers into Nigeria every month, silently. And he sells them. So look for something, it may be small, and start. Now, most businesses that I actually advise, I advise MBA, I advise so many other businesses, I tell them, you don't have to be $10 million business before you go international. Transportation is cheaper, communication is cheaper, banking is simple, internet is fantastic. All you need is IQ. Once you have that, start looking of what you can do. Look at, I'll give you I'll actually share one experience with you that somebody can actually do in this place. Go on the internet. Cars that have accidents, they sell the engines, $250. You bid for it. Rough average price is $250. I have a friend who then ships like 200 of those engines into West Africa every month and sells them at $1,000. He doesn't leave home. He has 2 guys who are dropouts who actually clears the goods in Lagos. He makes a decent $100,000 a month. Now, so he then spoke with me, says he wants to bring that money to America to buy properties. 50,000, 60,000. He wants to actually, we've just connected him to somebody in Michigan. Those places closing down in Michigan because anything that comes down will always go up. That's the basic principles. Whoever you are, it always comes out. Now, I don't want to spend an hour doing this because let me say some things to you. The thing is not about money. Even if we look at the Bible, it's never about money. It's about the love of money. It's the problem. So if you actually put a plan together, faith is the currency. Isaiah 55:1. I read it every day. Every day. Because the Lord told me to do that. But 3 things I want to mention in conclusion. I'm sorry it's just half an hour that I have. I cannot do this subject matter justice because this is something that I speak about for 4 hours every week. So half an hour to very busy people like you, it's a long time, but yet a short time. Now, 3 things I want you to actually remember from today. The first is that past failures should be our teacher, not our undertaker. Failure is delay, not defeat. It is a temporary detour, not a dead-end street. Consequently, why am I saying this? Because I know that some of you have tried to start business before it's failed. I only talk about the businesses that I've done that is successful. I don't talk about the one I tried. I don't talk about the 419 that I've slightly experienced, because that's part of the experience. So please, go and start a business. I have spoken to nearly all, this is my church too. Go and start a business. $75, downtown Chicago. Call me, I'll come and pick you at home. And you can open a business. And to those of you who already have a business, look at the different methods here. One another method which I've just came to my spirit now is that of the internet. Search the internet. There are companies that does this kind of thing. But because you are already smart guys, nobody's going to defraud you. Read what they want, take legal advice, and you can actually share some information there. That's the first thing, that we must keep our minds engaged. we must renew. Romans 12:2. We must renew our thinking. Because if we do that, the sky is the limit. The second is, and I'll say this with all love and kindness, faith is the key. This is a church we're talking about here. God wants us to prosper. Isaiah 54 verses 2 and 3. God is the owner of everything that we have. Except the Lord builds the house, the labor in vain that built it. Everything we have is not by accident. Trust me with this. Everything we have is not by accident. Also, I have over 33 years experience of doing business in 7 continents. The first 30 years of doing this business, the first 25 years of doing this business, I was toiling. I became vice president here, I became vice here, I became vice. I was making money, I was building houses, I have properties, I have Lagos here, I have there. But I was toiling. I would go into South Africa and see 7, 8 people, all in 3, 4 days. I'm exhausted, I'm like this on the plane back home. Then I discovered God. I did that earlier on in my 30s when I went to Oxford for 5 years to read theology. I still have my classmates there. I do all that kind of thing. But then seek ye the kingdom of God first. Seek him, the kingdom of God, and his righteousness. Everything else will be added. Matthew 6:33. Everything else will be added. Trust me with this. 2 more quick points. Read about successful business people. When you want to prosper, see people who have prospered. See people who have prospered with good ethics. Remember that. See people who have prospered with good intentions, honesty. One is Mary Kay Cosmetics, a woman of faith. She partnered with God. Another one is Chick-fil-A. You know those chicken that we eat? The last 3 weeks I've been using Chick-fil-A for a case study for my MBA students at Indiana Wesleyan University, and they were writing projects on it. And one of the things that came out of this is that they said, this is the kind of chicken we have. There is no fat in it. There is no this in it. You have to do something that is different from other people in order to prosper. If I tell you I'm selling chicken, everybody sells chicken. But you have to tell them why you are selling the chicken, what type of chicken you are selling, and that can be a way to go to the next level. Finally, in growing your business, you are making your community better. This is the joy of coming to this setting. And when I spoke to Pastor Omo, he keeps emphasizing it's community as well. It's community development. It's community development. And that's one of the things that encouraged me to drop everything on a Saturday to come here. Because I know that when you develop your community will respond to you. When you develop your community, you will be blessed. When you develop your community, your goodness will spread. Which reminds me, therefore, in closing, of Margaret Mead, the renowned American cultural anthropologist and writer, once said, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. Good afternoon.
Wow, wonderful. Let's put our hands together again for Chief Delano. Wow, please, you may all be seated. Thank you very much, sir, for that wonderful talk. I have a bunch of notes here. I wrote a lot of stuff down. And the next segment of the conference is where we will have a panel. And I want to encourage you. I'm sure when Chief Delano was talking, you had some questions on your mind. You can use your pad, especially given to us by Marquette Bank. Let's put our hands together for them. They donated this to us, and we're very grateful for their service. And of course, after the panel, please feel free to stop by their table to get more information. Write down some questions that you may have. I'm going to introduce the panel up. We're going to go right into it and to discuss. But then after I've exhausted my questions, we'll have time for your own questions. We have combined experience of over 40 years, and I want you to really take advantage of this time. What Chief Delano said is true. 35 minutes, 45 minutes is not enough time to speak on all the things that we need to do to make our businesses successful. But this is a good start, and I'm sure that as we ask questions and as we start the conversation, a lot of other things will come to light. So we want to just move on. This is our first business conference. We're excited. This is wonderful. And I'm just going to go right ahead to introduce the panel. Or do you guys want to take a break, or are we good? We're good. All right. Awesome. Okay. Yeah, you can always go to the back, help yourself to something to drink or some snacks there. All right. So I'm going to introduce the panel. We'll take this out, and then we'll get right into it. We have someone in our midst, a very, very unique person. I admire her a lot because of her drive, commitment to success, and just her hunger for excellence. Miriam Gaba is a special person. Stanford and Harvard trained individual, but with a very strong passion for fashion. I'm going to allow her to talk about herself when she comes up. But she is the CEO and the founder of Miriam Gaba LLC. Her clothing has been featured by the NBC weather reporter. What was her name again? Alicia Roman. And, she started this business from the scratch and, is taking it to new heights. And when we were in the organizing committee, we were discussing who we wanted to be part of the panelists. We said, it was a no-brainer, like Miriam, because she's doing great things. And I'm very sure we're going to learn a lot of nuggets from her. I mean, just from her approach and just from the way she handles businesses in general. She has a wealth of information. She's very young, but at the same time, she has a wealth of information for people, just for business entrepreneurs in general. So please, I'd like to welcome to the stage Miss Miriam Gaba. So, welcome. So, please. Also, we have our guest speaker who spoke, Chief Delano. He needs no introduction again. Please, can you? All right. Now, we were supposed to have Miss Robin Jackson from State Farm Insurance, but unfortunately, she's not able to make it. If she's able to, we'll let you know. But let's put our hands together for our panelists. All right. So Miriam, and again, as we said, you can write your questions. If you have any questions down for us, you can write them down, and then you can pass them to Joe, and then he'll pass it to me, and then I'll ask the question. But I have a bunch of questions myself. So to start with, I want to start with Miriam. Miriam, please tell us how you got your start. Why business? Because something I didn't mention about Miriam is that she was a consultant for several years, consulting all over the nation, to help businesses. You can talk more about that. But she transitioned into starting her own business. I think it will encourage a lot of people. So just share with us briefly how you got your start and what made you toe that line.
Thank you, Pastor Amor, for the very kind introduction. So after graduating from graduate school, I moved to Chicago for a consulting job. So I was working downtown. And the problem that I noticed that I wanted to solve was that work clothes in general for professional women are boring. Yes. They're really boring. So they're just drab colors, the styles, it's just not as fashion forward as the rest of the industry. So I was working in that industry and sort of working with what I had available at the stores. But I knew I had this dream that I could do better with the work clothes that women could wear to work. So I started the business on the side. I started making prototypes, researching manufacturers. Fortunately, I was well paid, so I was able to start making investments as well in the business and was able to move into small-scale manufacturing. And then after about a year and a half at the job, I got laid off. So that was actually the driving force for moving into my fashion business. So it really, at that point, I had a decision to make, whether to either get another job or move into this dream that was just, it was a little tiny seed at the time. And actually, when I got laid off, I think I had 7 clients, only 7 women that had ever bought clothes from me before. But thankfully, thank God for the influence of my pastors as well. It was really, I think it was a decision that its time had come, so I decided to move into fashion, and that was what prompted the move.
Wonderful. So you talked about prototypes. You actually drew them yourself. Did you have to get a sewing machine? What was, just walk us through quickly, just those steps, those early steps for people who are, just bare bones starting. What did you have to do? What mindset did you have to just go through that process?
Right. Okay. So I knew how to sew from when I was growing up, because they had a nanny when I was growing up that taught me how to sew. So I knew how to make clothes, but not on a professional level. And I also knew I didn't want to do custom designs because I didn't really understand the business model in that. I wanted to be in manufacturing. So I connected to the Apparel Board of Chicago. They have a directory of product developers. So I met a product developer there, and I gave her my samples that I had made.
Sorry, say again, where did you,
the Apparel Board of Chicago.
So you Googled them and you searched for them, okay.
Yes, so there is an apparel board. They are located at the Merchandise Mart, and they have a directory of everyone that's pretty much in the apparel industry in the city of Chicago. So they have people there that are product developers, professional product developers. And the reason why you need a professional is because manufacturers, there's a language of manufacturing in apparel. So you need a professional to develop it. It's not just something that you can make in your house and just give a manufacturer. Yeah, so she helped me, made the investment, and then I found a manufacturer through her as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. Chief Delano, you talked about in your presentation the importance of writing things down. There's a school of thoughts, I have some businesses too that I've started, and I have there's 2 schools of thoughts. One is you need a business plan. If you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. That's what some people say. So it's important to have a business plan. Then there's another school of thought that says, just wing it, just go. Why do I need to get a business plan to start the business or to go? What's your take on that? Of course, I don't believe either or, but what's your take on those 2 schools of thought? I must have, if I'm starting a business, have a business plan versus not having a business plan, winging it, just going for it. What's your take on that, sir?
I'm a very strong advocate of planning. Even planning one's day is crucial. From the time you wake up to the night, just one day is crucial. Now, when you think of an idea and you don't write it down, that concept is called wishful thinking. 2 months later, you then find that particular idea on the shelf. And you say, oh yeah, this is me. This is me thinking. But once you write it down, you are encouraged to follow it through. Besides, even if you are the son or you are very, very rich or the son of a rich man, now, if you have all the money in this world, you cannot spend it wisely if you are not prepared to account for it. and see what is the better way of me doing this in future. Planning is crucial. Even the Bible tells us to plan. Everything that we do in our lives, we should plan. That's my thinking. Now, there are some people that do not plan. There are some people that just have this idea that they should just do things the way they like. And that actually shows in what they do, because they are guessing things. They are not estimating. They are just guessing things as they go along. And that's not a very good concept for the way we should live our lives. That's my belief.
Thank you, sir. Miriam, can you talk on that? How did you, in practical terms, utilize that? Did you plan? I mean, how did that work for you?
Yeah, I was actually just having this conversation with someone earlier this morning. I wrote a plan, but it wasn't really for investors. It was for myself, because it helped me think through the vision that I had for my business. And actually, just a few weeks ago, someone asked me for the plan, who's a potential investor. So it did help that I had that, but the initial purpose of writing the plan wasn't really for presenting or anything. It was just so that I could think through my business.
Okay, that's good. So I have another question to Chief Delano. You talked about the product, the 4 Ps as they call them, in 4 Ps of marketing. I recently watched another show where they actually added a 5th P. Well, I guess it's there. People, you know, price, product, promotion, placement, and then, you know, people. How did you talk through the steps of the process of those 4 Ps for audience? Just expatiate on it practically with your business and how you identified your product. For example, why I'm saying this is, some people don't necessarily have a product to sell. They have a service to sell. Like, for example, somebody who wants to open a daycare, or someone who wants to, provide, accounting service or whatnot. How can we relate those 4 Ps to those types of people?
The 4 Ps called the product, the price, the promotion, and the placement. That's distribution. This 4 goes to 2 sets of services. The physical goods itself or service industry. As the moderator said, if you look at services, if you have a dry cleaning service, actually it's an intangible asset. So how does that, the 4 Ps applies to that for people who want to start services? A doctor has, you cannot say the doctor did this. Also an intangible asset. There are lots of intangible assets that a lot of people actually want to specialize in. Price, intangible assets are not extremely sensitive to price. They are sensitive to delivery. If you have a very good dry cleaning service around your house, you are likely to use that services for a very, very long time. Yeah. It's not the 20 cents or the 50 cents more that will make you make a decision. The other thing as well is that for services, it's what we call the 5th or the 6th P, which is now people. Some say it's product. Some say it's profitability. We now have concepts of 8 Ps as well, all kinds of concepts. But when you look at people, if you're a people person, you can actually operate safely in a service industry. Because a lot of people that I do business with that provide me services, I go to my doctor because he is very, very nice. He's a nice man. He will tell you, have you had breakfast? Can we go and eat? So by the time you actually leave the doctor's office, I'm half healed. I'm half there. Because it's very pleasant to me. So services, so there are different emphasis for the 4 Ps with these 2 groups. Let me just pick another P with the physical product. Physical product quite often deals with price. Now, we call something a concept of close substitute. When you go to, say, Joel Osco or any of those Walgreens, now, if I want to buy aspirin, I can buy their own aspirin because it's the same thing in the aspirin and it's 25% cheaper. So I look at price in that policy. But if I want to do something like buy a car, the car has to be value for money. So you will find there's a value for money between a Mercedes and a Ford Focus. So there's a price differentials there. So what is it that you have to do? You have to first of all determine what is it that your product is offering. Can it be premium priced? Can it be the normal price? Can it be something that I can give away with this? You've got to determine the strategy to market that. The joy of this is that there are loads of consultants who can actually help you determine this. One last example, look at Mercedes-Benz. There's actually a Mr. Mercedes who existed in the 20s and 30s who said, the only thing I want to do is to make sure the quality of my engine is first class. So they didn't think about making money. They thought about quality product. Look at us here now, 80, 90 years on, Mercedes makes one of the best cars in the world. So one person can change the policy. You are the business owner. You are the entrepreneur. I want to run a business that has integrity. When I say integrity, the price has to be right. The product has to be good. And one of the things that I have a team of about 50 of us fighting about people shipping goods that are expired into Africa. Particularly medicine, drugs. People have shipped drugs that have expired into places like Mali that has killed people. So for us as aspiring businessmen or who are aspiring to grow our businesses, integrity of the 4 Ps for your product, for your company is essential. The price has to be right. The product has to be quality. The promotions, you have to be truthful in your promotions, in your advertising. Now, you also have to know where you need to promote.
Yes, target market.
Target market, you have to target the market. One quick example before I yield is look at the Super Bowl. A 30 seconds advert on Super Bowl is $3 million. So I cannot advertise on Super Bowl, not because I don't have the money, but because my products are not over everywhere yet. Coca-Cola can do it, IBM can do it, Ford Motor Car companies can do it. So you've got to look at the factors that pertain to your business and emphasize on that in going out to actually run the business.
Wonderful. Miriam, do you have anything to add to that as far as the promotion and the place? Okay. I want to focus. As you can see, we're kind of going through a progression here. First is you write down what the ideas that you have a business plan, at least structure your thoughts as to what you're trying to do. Then we've now talked about the 4 Ps. What service are you trying to provide? The place, who is it for? The price. That's what we're talking about. Now, I want to go systematically. Once that's done into, we'll talk about funding, capital, which is a main issue. And then I want us to also talk about the networking, because you hammered on that a lot, and I want us to really drill on that. So, Miriam, can you talk about how you got, what pathway you took towards your funding, how you started your business? And I have a question for Chief on that, because he mentioned something about venture capitalists versus banks. I want to have some questions on that. So can you just talk a little bit like your process of funding? Miriam Gaba didn't exist 3 years ago. It was zero. How did you, and this is a Miriam Gaba you are wearing, by the way. How did it get from zero to where you're already making clothes? You are already selling, you have clients all over the place. How? Where did the money come from? People want to know.
Yeah, so the business started as a side business.
Yes.
Fortunately, I had a well-paying job downtown. So I actually bootstrapped the business. What that means is you put in all the investment yourself. And so at my job, I think I had probably in excess of about $2,000 every month. Once I had paid my rent, paid my bills, paid my tithe, paid all dues, had about $2,000 overflow. So over a course of a year, that was about $20,000. So I did that consistently for all of 2012. So by the end of 2012, my product had gone from an idea to a tangible product. So the 20,000 went to product development, sourcing materials, finding manufacturers, all of those things. So at the end of 2012, I had a tangible product in my hand, and I had some inventory that I was able to sell.
So you raised it yourself?
Yes, so over the course of, 12 months, all of last year, I invested about $22,000 into my business.
Okay.
And that was purely from the income I had from my job.
Okay. That's pretty impressive. Okay. What do you have to say? I think maybe Chief Delano can throw some light on this. What about, I don't have any money. I don't have a good paying job that I can bootstrap from. Or I don't even have a job. How do and I have this dream of starting a business. I have this dream of growing this business. Where do I even start? I mean, I've identified my target. I know what I want to do. I've done those preliminary things that we just talked about. I've written some things down. Where do I go?
You see, it's an interesting question. And people often ask me this question. And I think that Pastor Lan actually mentioned something which was very crucial in the bean concept. If you have one bean, you actually want to make it two very quickly. You hustle and bustle and run around to do something. So the first thing is, when you don't have money, are you good looking? This is serious stuff now. I'm not trying to be funny.
Come on, yeah.
Are you pretty? What is it that you have that others don't have? Are you intelligent? If you attended an Ivy League, say it out very subtly that you are brilliant. Now, because if you permit me, I want to use my son. One of the things that we did was make sure all my 4 children, we send them to very expensive boarding schools. And that has paid off. Because when my son was in England, he was an athlete. And his friends were people like Prince Charles' son. His friends was Virgin Atlantic's daughter. He went into Harrods and worked for Ed Fadai, the owner of Harrods. They all go into Paris, and then once a year. That's the first level of networking, when you don't have money, but you have dignity. You can raise up your head. You can talk. There must be something that you do. You see, our God is an awesome God.
Yeah.
Every one of us here has a talent.
Yes, yes.
So you have to identify what your talent is. Once you can then turn your talent into an asset.
Yes.
And then say, okay, because let me quickly answer that. When I got to England at the age of 20, when I finished my A-levels, I said, how can I make extra money? So what did I do? I started thinking, my forte is international business. So I went to Oyo, in the old Western region, to buy carvings. And I shipped carvings into Holland and United Kingdom. When I got to Holland, and this guy said, can we meet? Guess what? I met a Nigerian king there who was trying to sell the same thing to him. But he bought mine. Because I said, come and partner me. Yeah. Come and partner me. The king wanted an arm and a leg. I only wanted his leg. I left him his arm. So he partnered me. Then again, I said, what else can I do that doesn't require money? I started going from London, England as a student to Brussels to buy cars and drive it back to London and make some money. Thirdly, look for where you can get money where you don't have to pay for the money. I started looking for mortgages. In those days, in the 70s and 80s, you could have mortgages that is 100% in England. So I started getting mortgages and then buying old houses, calling my friends together. We paint it, we do cosmetic, we arrange that for a year and make some money from it. And in no time, I had 10, 12 properties that I was renting out. And when I go in to collect the rent, I'm in a dirty pair of jeans and all my hair is cut out. I don't want them to think I have money. So those who are not paying me, I beg them. I am being serious here. The things that you have to do, that you do.
Wow.
Now, there was one, the last one in Hendon, in London. I went there and said they were not going to pay me. So then I started pretending I was speaking in tongues. No time the money came out. I am serious. So what am I saying? What I'm simply saying is that sit back. What can I do? Do I have a friend who has a friend who is rich? Do I have a cousin who does this? Look for something. And I think we've said earlier on, do not despise humble beginnings. Apple, that's one thing I want you to learn from Apple computers. Apple computers, when you actually phone them to order a laptop, that's when they start making your laptop. They don't have inventory. That's why they said within 30 days. Within 14 days, they've made your laptop. And so you start thinking of innovative ideas, what I call the guerrilla marketing concepts. Last example, very quickly, because this may be very useful. I went to England. When I worked in Gillette, I was head of the operations for Africa. I met this lady that I helped in London, England. When I met her there, when I was launching my products in London, I met her at the lunch place, and she came. So I didn't even remember her. She said, you did this and that. I said, what do you do now? She said, I now work for CNN. I said, okay, this is a new product. Can you get me on CNN? So that's how I got my 7 minutes of free CNN 12 years ago, worth $2 million US for free. And that catapulted my business into 5-6 countries. Because I have that tape and I played, I deliberately just dropped it nicely when I'm looking for a distributor. So you are a celebrity. Oh, I'm not too sure about that. Yeah. You have to do these things as long as you don't exaggerate. These are acceptable buzz, B-U-Z-Z, that you have to use to take it to the next level. So look at, in conclusion, look at your strength and capitalize on your strength, and you will make money.
Wow. That's good. That's awesome. Back to you, Chief Delano, and Miriam, you can chime in. This issue of venture capitalists, versus banks and angel investors. Now, there are a bunch of shows out there. I love this show, the Shark Tank, where you have investors starting. People come and they pitch their ideas to a bunch of investors, and investors decide whether or not they want to invest. There's another show I discovered too, called The Prophet. A guy who goes around, trying to make, make offers on growing businesses. And there's a common theme I've seen with all the businesses that pitch. They are afraid of equity, in the sense with venture capitalists, they want the money, but they don't want to give up the control of their business to people. Say, for example, you want $50,000, and a venture capitalist comes and says, okay, I'll give you $50,000, but I need 30% of your business now. I need 40% of your business. There's always that hesitation. From all those people I've seen, I don't want to lose control of my business, but at the same time, I want the money. So that's the issue with the venture capitalist thing. And then, of course, with the banks, of course, we have a bank sponsoring us here, but the reality is that with the economy, it's been very, like you said rightly, it's been very, very difficult for people to get loans. But I think banks are working with businesses as well. They really want business. So the question, and then there's the issue of angel investors. How do you navigate through, all of these channels of investment have advantages and disadvantages. So how do you navigate through them to find the best fit for you? And once Chief talks, Miriam, you can also talk about that, your philosophy.
That's why it's imperative to have something. I am a creative expert, you may say to yourself, I have that P, the product. Once you have a product that is different from any other product in the market, then that will determine the way you want to finance it. When I see a product now, after 33 years of working in 7 continents, somebody says it's 99 cents, I'll say it's going to be 460 naira in Dosumu Street. I'll tell you straight. Then I'll quickly walk back to say, okay, who can ship this? Are we going to ship to Kaduna? Are we going to ship to where to get into the market? Then I can say, oh, it's $3. I don't want to put my money into this. The competition is too strong. I'll tell you straight. But if I see something that is unique and that there is barriers to entry for that product, then that's when the venture capitals want everything. They want shares. Bill Gates 30 years ago was begging his business partner, take the 7% share. No, take it. That 9% today is worth 13 billion. So, first point, be careful not to give the stall away, because you may have other avenues of raising funds.
Yes.
Don't be desperate. Get on your knees. It's the word, not the world. 2, look at people, say, okay, I have this product. Let's start small. I always start anything small. Then somebody likes it. I'll give an example. I went into Ghana. I told this lady, I didn't know that at that time she was the wife of the governor of the Central Bank of Ghana. So I went into the hotel, I met her, and I said, okay, why don't you start with $5,000 of my products? She laughed. I said, okay, do you want something smaller? She still laughed. And then she said, I want to come into Chicago and see your operations. I picked her at the airport. I showed her the operation. Why are you not doing this? I don't have the money. Why are you not? Be truthful. Then she said, okay, I will send you another next week. First order, $300,000 US. Because she believed that she was going to be the sole agent in that country. So the way you present yourself can also determine the way you get funds. Okay. Now, one last example. If you have sales of, say, $500,000, and the guy says, okay, let me partner you, an angel investor comes in, let me partner you, I like what you're doing. Then he says, okay, sales $500,000, your cost of sales is X, and you're making 40% gross profit. So yeah, this is good business. However, he then says you are driving a Mercedes GL 550, which is $100,000. So from gross profit to net profit is 0, because you spend the whole money on yourself. Then he's not going to be interested. So the way we also portray ourselves will determine the way we get the funds. Then 2 small points, very quickly. The first is that do not over-represent what you have. There's always an investor out there for you. You may say, okay, it's bank. I don't mind banks. Banks are interested in getting their money back. They're not interested in shares. I don't mind not making money for the first 5 years. Because when you grow, it may be a quantum growth. And so once you go to the venture capitalists, you're in trouble. Because they owe you for life.
Yeah.
So I don't personally, with the kind of business that I do, recommend to myself venture capitalists. However, venture capitalists are good when it's technologically based. You want $50 million. You want to start an airline. Go to venture capitalists for an airline, because they can put the money down and you cannot run an airline alone. With a large sum of money, if it is capital intensive, venture capitalists are good. If it is creative incentive, go the angel way.
Okay, thank you. Miriam, can you talk about that?
Yeah, I think just as Chief Delano was saying, I think you have to decide what kind of business you're building and what is required to make that happen. So for me, at least, I knew that, at least at the beginning of the company, I felt like literally I had a very small baby, and I wanted to grow this baby and sort of take it to a certain level of maturity. So I already knew that I didn't want to relinquish too much control, especially in the beginning. And in addition to that, when I did the budget and I looked at how much I needed to actually take the plan from idea to a concept, it was maybe 25. I landed somewhere between 25 to 30,000. I was actually able to do it for less than that. So I looked, as Chief Delano was saying, within my network and within the resources that I had, and it wasn't too far of a reach. It seemed like something that with some sacrifices, I would have been able to do. So I decided to do that, and that's pretty much how it got started. But I think also, as Chief Delano was saying, in sort of thinking about the future, I definitely recognize that the company cannot always remain under my control, since the vision is to grow expand, an international brand. Exactly, and to sort of build distribution. But at the beginning, where the vision was really more about creating a great product and doing it at the best price possible, I decided it was better to keep it.
Okay, so my takeaway from that is identify what you're trying to do, decide which type of investment channel you're going to use, whether you're going to use angel investors, friends, family, different people you meet around to invest in it. You want to use a bank, or you want to use a venture capitalist. So you have to do the work yourself to identify that.
Yeah, and just to add really quickly, actually, the other thing that I knew that I wanted, which is now actually starting to happen, was I knew I always wanted to be in a position where when investors came in, I would be able to dictate the terms at which I wanted the agreement to happen instead of the other way around. And actually, like, 2 angel investors are wanting to invest in the business now, and I'm happy because I have something to show them, which is a track record.
Yeah, you must have something, because most times, you just say you want to have an investor, but you don't have anything to show. You must have something to show before you even start going to investors. To end on that point, what I got also is think big, start small. Think big, start small. Now, the last point for the discussion, I hope you've been writing your questions, because we're going to take some time to ask some questions to the panelists, and then we're going to break up into groups for the workshop. Also, one thing you should do is just do an asset assessment, like write out, like what Chief Delano said, everybody has some gifts. Write out, if you've not already done that, write out what your gifts are, what makes you unique. And during the workshop, we're going to discuss them. What makes you use something that you can sell, that you can present. Now, the question I wanted us to talk about is the question of networking. And Chief Delano talked a lot about it and gave a lot of ideas. How do you address the issue of, because we all want to prosper, we want to be great. I'm shy. I don't really like talking to people. I just like being on my own, but I have this business idea. Networking, it's just intimidating to me. You've given a lot of examples of going places, meeting people. I don't think I have the charm or the charisma to be able to. Am I born with a skill like that? Is it something that I can acquire? Can I learn some skills? How do you help somebody that is challenged in that area of network? I know there are some people, they're very easygoing with people. They go, hey, how you doing? And they can carry out conversations. But there are also some business people that are very shy and reserved, and not necessarily ready to go out to talk to people, to share their ideas. They keep everything close to their chest. How do we help such people, especially knowing that in this day and age, for you to take your business to the next level, we need to engage in that. So it's trade up.
The first thing about being shy, they actually may be an asset. Because I like to do business with shy people. There's a positive correlation between shy people and intelligence. And that's the truth. And secondly, we are often the architect of our defeat. A lot of people fail because they talk too much about what they're doing. And so I find that a lot of people that I'm doing, as I sit here, I'm doing business with so many people. They will never say it out that they're doing business. That's one advantage of shyness. But now, I was just playing the advocate there. Now, if somebody is shy, then he's shy. These are things that they did not teach you in Harvard. If somebody is shy, shy. Right. So if it's my brother, I can actually take him out to parties and talk to friends and then look at something that he likes to talk about. And you discuss that. That's one way. The other way is that people who are shy, then you are shy. You cannot do business. Look at something that the Lord has given you to do.
you can't do.
I am being serious. Yeah. We have to recognize what we have. If you are somebody who doesn't talk a lot, you may be a professor at MIT. I have friends who are professors who hardly talk. But when you read their book, you're underlining every line of it. Because that's what they do. But when it comes to networking is an asset. Networking is a skill. Also because there is a sense that you can be shy, you can be in between, or you can be too proactive. When you are too proactive, they call it pride. Nobody wants to do business with you when you are prideful. So when I personally, when I enter a room, I study the room, I study who are in the room. I first of all greet the elders. I greet my pastors. I greet everybody, but I greet them differently, and I say different things to different people. That's a skill set. And so when I then square somebody up, is there a possibility of doing business with this person, or can I use this person for something? And that's why I know over 50 doctors who are Nigerians in Chicago, because I don't have that skill set. I hated physics. I failed physics in my A-levels. So that's not my skill set. I look for my skill set, build on my skill set, and then surround myself with people who do not have what I have. And so being shy, it's not a big deal. If you are being shy, you cannot go all over the world and do business. You can't learn beyond a certain stage of your character. As long as that person is dignified and is working hard, there's always something in it for that person. But once again, one way is to encourage people. Yeah. And I think that's what you're trying to get at, to encourage ourselves, to encourage our friends, to encourage, and for people who are shy to come out like this. I am a much more stronger believer in having this kind of, I'm not here to only share my views with you. I'm here to meet all of you. I know my friend there. I haven't seen him for about 5 years. I know people here. I know your uncle. I know everybody. Because it's important that you know these people. And so sharing and bringing our friends out who are shy, it's one way of helping them, also a way of helping ourselves.
Awesome. Miriam.
Yeah, I think what I'm going to add to that is that even if you're not a shy person, the activation energy, from where you are, say you're in a room like this and there are potential business people, potential partners, there's still an activation energy required to go from your state of comfort, which is maybe in the corner or on your seat or whatever, to talking to people. And then there's another activation energy required to go from just talking small talk to this is what I do, and then sort of looking for the opportunities. And then for me, if I see a potential partnership, then sort of connecting with the person to hopefully turn that into a lead. So I think even if you're not a shy person, there's still that emotional drawback. You want to sort of hold back. And I think the way that I deal with it is I just do it anyways. Like I try not to overthink. Like, okay, what's this person going to think of me? Is someone going to say no? Things like that. So I think that would be my suggestion for shy people, is that feeling will never go away, even if you're not a shy person, but you just have to do it.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I mean, and to piggyback on what Chief Delano said, it is the value that you perceive you have, or that you celebrate, that's what eventually shines. That's what people see. That's what they are drawn to. So let's not be afraid to show what we have on the inside, or share what we have on the inside. It's very key that this skill set, the wonderful thing is that, like Chief said, we can encourage ourselves in this. This skill set is something that you can develop, over time. So with that, that's the end of this segment. I want to thank our panelists for that, but we're not done yet. We have some questions. If you've written down some questions, you can, that's Joe right there. Just feel free to give him your questions, or if you just want to go ahead and ask it. Any questions? Yeah. Did you write it down? Okay. I guess let's free flow. Let's flow. If you can just pass the. You have a question too. Okay. So we'll start 1, 2, then 3.
The question I have is how important is the structure of whatever company you're trying to build? Like, for example, lawyers, accountants, maybe even consultants in different areas. How important is that in the outset, or do you have to really time when you bring those particular professionals in to take your business to the next level?
So the question is how important is it to bring in business professionals like lawyers, accountants, and stuff to grow the business at the onset? You know, that you're asking, when do we, at what stage do we get that done, right? Okay. Anybody?
From stage 1. If there's a stage 0, from stage 0, the reason is that you cannot win without experts in this very complex international world. Yeah. From writing a contract, I'll give you an example. When I was in a company, one of the biggest companies in the world, but I had a manager who was very, very kind man, and we wrote a contract without actually showing an attorney in Chicago, and we went to Saudi Arabia. And we gave this guy a contract. He gave us $3 million. We shipped the goods. We're all rejoicing. And then the following year, he stopped buying. And we said, this is not possible. So we said, we're going to fire him. Then he brought out the contract. He said the contract missed out A, B, C, D. We had to pay him $15 million. Not me, the company that I was working for had to pay him $50 million. So right from the beginning, it's important that we recognize. You see, one of the things with entrepreneurs is the skill set that we have is to recognize who does what. If you cannot do that, that's one problem. But the moment you can have division of labor, you know what an accountant does. If you want an accountant, I've been an accountant for 33 years. I know the difference between a good accountant and a bad accountant. A good accountant, you avoid taxation. A bad accountant, you evade tax, which ends you in prison. You know, so you have to decide what you want to do with each person, an attorney, a lawyer. I love using PR companies. PR companies will tell you how things are done. They are not ridiculously expensive. I love for my products, the people that I use to formulate my products. I'm not a chemist. I'm not a scientist. I'm just a businessman and a financial guy. So I look for people who are very good at making formulas for shampoos and conditioners. I've just been to California. I'm on my way to Brazil in 2 weeks' time. I'm looking for this specialist. So it's imperative that specialists are introduced from day 1. Point 2, for venture capital, they want to bring in a director, somebody who is competent in that area. Just as she was saying that she doesn't want to relinquish her creativity or her company. Same as myself. I'd rather bring somebody in to advise me and pay the person rather than the shares. But it's imperative to summarize to answer to your question, it's imperative that we actually acknowledge, introduce, recognize the key people who will help us to grow the business.
Yeah, from the startup perspective, I definitely agree with Chief Delano that I had a team like that, but you don't want building that to take you away from the real thing you're really trying to do, which is get an idea off the ground, because I think that can become paralyzing as well. You know, looking for an accountant, looking for, if you need a website or whatever, looking for someone in IT, looking for all these skill sets that you didn't have. So at least the way that I was able to overcome that in my business was just my friends. So I had a friend who was in law school, I have a cousin who's an accountant, I have friends who do brand, they're just really good with Photoshop. So I just gave all of them free clothes and just said, please help me with this. And they've done that. So I didn't have to pay because I didn't have cash in the beginning. But at least I was able to
leverage.
Yeah, sort of use that without it becoming a burden.
Okay. So you have a follow-up question to that very quickly? Okay, where do you... Okay. Well, she just mentioned
So
friends.
these are my friends.
Yeah, if you mentioned friends, look at your network for friends, you know, and then...
Yeah, they're friends. And I don't think you need that many at the startup level. Really, I think what you need in the beginning, I think it depends on your business, but what I needed getting started, the skills that I didn't have were someone in like web/IT who could build a website, someone who could help me with accounting, someone in graphics, and I think those are the three key skills that I needed, like ongoing support, not just sort of project-based, one-off assistance. Yeah.
Two places to find them. One is word of mouth. Word of mouth is very powerful. Look for a friend who knows a good accountant. The other one, which is equally important, is the trade associations. The trade associations, if you're looking for a good attorney, you can actually phone there are associations that will help you to find a good attorney in your area. You can go and then you can then research it and find out whether that person is as good as what they're saying he or she is. But those are basic. That's very, very simple in developed world. In America, it's very, very simple to find people who can help you do things.
Okay. Second question was here, then we'll take his question. Let's pass it over.
So my question is this. I'm usually an ideas person.
Yeah.
Every day I have tons of ideas rushing through my mind, like, you know, a product or a business or, you know, an invention. I'm very passionate about such things, and I, you know, constantly ask God for ideas. So those ideas come, and I write them down. But how do you, determine which ideas are worth pursuing, and, you know, must you necessarily recognize which one of them is a multi-million idea? You know, some ideas come and you really feel excited about it and you say, wow, yes, I know this has great potential, but, you know, which ideas are worth pursuing?
Thank you. Before we respond, for those that just walked in, you're welcome. We have some light refreshments at the back. Feel free to help yourself to something while we continue. So.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello. Yes. Which ideas are worth pursuing? That's $1 million question. The first thing we need to ask ourselves is that this idea, how can it help mankind? How can it improve the lives of others? Usually there is a connection between when the ideas can better us, then it has value. Now, if we just think of an idea and we think this is just going to make us money, that's not a good idea. But when we look at the benefits of the idea, then we can generate it. Secondly, in 1975, somebody that I will not mention his name, probably most of you know, says, cell phone is used, it can never work. It's only for all rig members. That guy today is retired and tired. 25, 35 years on, cell phone is owned by 97% of Americans. So when he thought about that idea and he killed that idea, that's what, he didn't know very much about cell phones. Besides, cell phones then were this big because they did not have the microchip in those cell phones then, and they were used in all rigs. So a good idea is a good idea if you are given from above. A good idea is that, is it adding value to what I want to do? Is it adding value? Yes. Then is to put a plan together and then go see whether you can patent it. There are patent attorneys, there are patent farms, there are churches that I can actually introduce you to who have divisions now that they can patent things. And then you can work on it slowly. Because I know a lot of people who the Lord has given the blessing, the gift of ideas. One did not even finish high school, and the U.S. military has just bought his idea for $100 million. Because he did something, and this was from above, and he's a very rich man now. He doesn't return my calls anymore anyway. That's it. But it's somebody that I know back in church that did this. So please do not discount any idea. Follow it through. Follow it through, because we do not know where our blessing is.
So, Miriam, you have something to add to
Yeah,
that?
I was just going to add to that really quickly. I think for me, the process that I go through, there was a book that I read, I can't remember what book it was, but it said that we should begin our lives with the end in mind. Actually, that's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So I actually wrote down sort of the speech that I want to be read, when I'm no longer here. And a part of it focused on my career, what I did. And I wrote down what I wanted to be said at that point in time. And I saw that a lot of it focused on what I was doing in fashion. So having written it and sort of having found peace in this is the story that I want to be told when I'm no longer here, that this was the contribution that she made professionally. I found satisfaction in that, and I was like, this is the idea that I want to pursue. That was the first thing. The second thing I think that could really help in sort of choosing, because you're right, like you get a lot of ideas and you can't pursue all of them because it's like ideas overload, and then people will come to you with ideas and then you might want to help, and you can really sort of burn yourself out doing that. So the second thing that helped me decide was, can I deal with the joys and the frustrations of this idea? So fashion has a lot of highs and a lot of lows. One of the highs, obviously, for me, the reason why I do this is to create clothes that help women feel very, very confident and inspires them to just put their best selves in front of the world. And if I achieve that on any day, I've done my job. So I really love that when I ship a dress to a woman and she gets it and it fits perfectly and she wore it to wherever she was going to wear it to, and it made her feel very confident and she did whatever she was going to do. It really makes me feel happy. But there are also frustrations to that. Some days I ship out clothes, it's the wrong size, it's the wrong fit, or it's the wrong color, or the woman she doesn't like it. And the item has to be returned to me and I have to send it back. And it's not the best feeling when I get a dress back and I have to go through the order again and have additional shipping expenses. But that was a frustration that I realized I was okay dealing with because I'm happy to solve this problem. So I think there are some businesses that will present frustrations that I just know, for example, maybe in technology, I want to collapse when there's a technological problem. So I can't handle those frustrations, but I knew I could sleep over fashion frustrations because I can solve them. So that was the other thing that helped me decide that this was something I wanted to commit myself to. The fact that the joys made it worth it, and even when there were frustrations, they didn't cause me to give up. I was like, I can always solve it.
That's a very fantastic point. Thank you for that. Let's take another question.
So I thank you for for a very very deep lecture you gave us. I have 4 questions, and let's assume you've identified what area of business you want to work on. The first question I have is, how do you manage waves and innovation? So by that I mean, the products that people are attracted to is dictated by the trends. So that's what I mean by waves. And if you're trying to insert yourself into business, you have a certain idea. How do you manage those waves and innovation? So what truly is innovative? So I'll give you an example. There are so many smartphone companies right now, and they're coming up every day. So the question is, what is innovation? Was it Steve Jobs that started it? How do you manage innovation in that sense? The second question is spending. You talked about the 262 principle. And one of the challenges I have in my line of business is actually trying to decide on investments you can make today that can ultimately lead to bigger investments tomorrow. I'll give an example. I had a grant for about $350,000, and out of that initial investment, I probably only got about 100,000 out of it. And it's, when you talked about 20%, only 20% of it comes back to your business, 60% you get little returns on it, and 20% is lost. I see that that's actually true. And I just want to get some perspective on you on how you manage that going forward, because ultimately you want to continue to double your investments. The third one is marketing to your base, with a vision for global outreach. You always have, so I think you started off with L'Oreal, and there are a few people around the world that use, not a few people, I don't know what percentage of people that use those products, but obviously there's a broader base of customers that you want to reach. So the questions really are, the question here is how do you break the mold and reach, because there's something different you have to do to be able to reach people that you can't reach right now. And then the final question is, there's always a tendency to hold on to what you have, because that's where your credibility is built upon. That's where your strength really lies. That's all that you know. So what strategies can you provide to help one break with what you consider to be the strengths of your business in order to expand into this, both globally as well as creating and innovating new products and businesses?
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Just before the panelists answer the question, I want to just announce that this event, again, is live streamed. Different people are watching it over the internet. So if you are on a mobile phone, you can text your friends. If you want to get the exact link to where it is, or just go to pastorland.com, actually. You will see it. It's live stream. It's on there. You can just text your friends that it's online and they can watch it for free. All right. So those are 4 questions. Anyone can take a stab at it. How do we deal with? We want to split it up, or I don't know how we want to just flow.
Okay. Let me answer the very simple ones first. The first is that the global outreach, there is a concept called niche marketing, NICH. My specialty is in niche marketing because I manufacture and distribute into 15 countries beauty products for women, men, and children of color. That's in Africa. We are not ethnic, so I don't use the word ethnic at all because there are more of us blacks in Africa than here. Consequently, I make beautiful women more beautiful. That's my niche. I cannot help you if you are not beautiful already. And I say that in seminars, and that wins me customers because everybody believes that it's beautiful. Now, for niche marketing, you've got to find out your target market. When I worked in L'Oreal, L'Oreal is a $16 billion company. When I worked in another company called Sofshin, Sofshin was only writing $250 million because they specialize in what I do now. So when I go into countries, I cannot sell my products in Russia. So, because that's not my niche. I can sell my products to people of color in the United States. So that's niche marketing concept. Okay, let me just answer one more and then I can pass it to you. The other one is that how do you hold on to strategy? We call that concept, you focus on your core competencies, C-O-R-E, core competencies. If I know I'm good at something, I just want to focus on that. I'm going to be single-minded on what I'm good at. I know I can beat my competitors in this, so I focus on this. One example of my product, and I know that none of the information is leaving this room. I make olive oil. So olive oil, the bigger companies don't make olive oil. So I go way out to say that my olive oil is from Israel, the raw materials is from Israel, because that's my core competency. I also make black soap. I ship loads of black soap into Africa. And so I know those are my core competencies. So I'm going to stick by those things that I do well. Now, the shampoos of this world, I cannot beat the big companies with the shampoos of this world because I'm not even a chemist. So I don't have a clue of that, but I still sell shampoos. So that's the second one. Let me just take one more, which is the 262 concept. You see, we have to be careful when we invest, because you can't just say, I made my first bit of money from buying British Petroleum shares 30 years ago. Something was telling me that this is a winner. So I bought as much as I can. When I was still a student in England then, I bought as much as I can. I even sold my car, a second-hand car, so it's a banger. But 6 months later, I made 4 times of what I did. So that was a one-off because I have certainty. Just like in the stock market here, it's dangerous to have a portfolio of 1. That's not a portfolio. If you have a portfolio of 10, that's what that concept is trying to actually explain, that the portfolio managers will say, okay, why don't you have some of the safe shares? It may be Coca-Cola, blue chip companies. Well, okay, why don't you have another one which is oil exploration in Argentina? You may not find oil there. That might be the 20% you are going to lose. Then the 80% are medium-sized companies that you are not sure of what that portfolio is. But you find that the law of averages and the law of investment, all those 10 added together, you will always come up with about 15 to 15% if you do it well. Consequently, somebody who sees a good idea will say, this is a good idea. Let me put 100,000 into it. Besides, I like this man who came to me. That 100,000 may be $5 million in 5 years' time. But mentally, do not invest on anything, don't risk anything if you are not willing to write it off mentally. Don't go and borrow money to invest. That is very bad policy. Invest on what you have. That's the third one. The fourth one is, how do you manage waves? That's a very million-dollar question. What I do with my company is that I go into London, England, Kenya, and Brazil, because I'm old school, and you can see a lot of white here. So I am not current on anything, but I am current with people who are current. Consequently, I have the policy of idea generation sessions. I go into Kenya, I get some university professors, I get these people, I get them, they eat with me. Kenya is a good place to do business. Buy them lunch, you owe them for the day. Nigeria, buy them a car, they are still asking for more. That's by the way. Consequently, it's important that you sit down and strategize and say, what do I want to do? And the reason is that from this, I wrote down 4 questions now. I've learned something already from you, which I'm going to use for other things when just speaking to you. And consequently, if you have a very clear mind, if you are willing to learn, that's where education and training comes in. Then you can use a lot of other people to determine the trend. I remember my son had an article, I think last week in Forbes, and one of the things he was saying about me is we went to watch Michael Jackson together. And I remember one of the concerts, I had to carry him by the neck. He's taller than myself now. I had to carry him and that. For about 2-3 days, my neck wasn't the same. But what am I saying? I'm saying now that he still remembers. I have forgotten. He's only 31 years old. So use people who are current to be current to make current decisions. And then you will make money. You know why money is called currency? Because it has to flow.
Yeah.
That's why we say currency. If you have $2 million in the bank and you're not using it, you're going to lose it. Let it flow. That's why we call it currency. It's flowing. Thank you.
Wonderful. Miriam, you don't have anything to add? Okay. So I think we are good with the questions. Now, what we're going to do is, for those of you, because we're quickly approaching our endpoint, for those of you that still have questions, we're going to divide ourselves into groups. We're going to have the group session now. Now, it's going to be like speed dating type of thing. So our 2 panelists we'll have one group on this side and one group on the other side. Our two panelists will have one here and another here. When you're done with your session, you can move over to the other group, and then this group, when you're done with your session, you can move over to this group. Now, what are you going to be doing? I'm assuming that you have written down some questions, some things. We're going to sit down together as a group. You're going to share, talk about what your business is amongst yourselves with the panelists that's there, and just share your dreams, share whatever challenges or questions you might have, and then do your assessment, like what do I really have to offer? How am I doing as far as my plan, my business plan? How am I doing as far as, my networking? How am I doing? You talked about having your cards and everything. How am I doing, as far as identifying my target market? These are things I want us to talk about. How am I doing in terms of compartmentalizing our ideas together? How am I doing? So it's an assessment of where you are currently, where your business is right now, and they will help you do a diagnostic of where you are and how you can move to the next level. So with that said, and then you can also talk about other things that pertain to your business. It's a time to talk to them, to get to know them one by one. Then once you're done, you switch over to the other side. Kind of just very, very briefly. We have about, get their business cards, network. We have about 25 minutes to do that. The remaining 5 minutes, I'll call on Dr. Ajayi and Lisette, and we'll wrap up. Again, let's plug to Marquette Bank. They're here. Please, after we're done with the session, visit their table. Let them know you are here, and they have some information for you. So let's split now into groups. We have some music playing. Thank you once again for being